I had gone through a divorce and was trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do with my life. And so I studied, hypnosis and breath work and just kind of all of these other kinds of modalities. It's been this journey of like 8 or 9 years where I'm finally in this place where I've looked at all of the different things from my perspective, that the reason that we are here in life is to become the most authentic version of who we are.
Sweaty gold. Sweaty gold. Here we are.
Shaun.
Robert.
I'm so thankful to have you in Nashville. Yeah. We met in Colorado at Soma breathwork training.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had this little conversation this morning. It's like, I forgot. I feel like I've known you for a long period of time. And it's not been that long.
A few years.
Yeah. Yeah. But we connected pretty quick.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did.
What brought you to Soma?
Oh, such a good question. I went through this period of exploring all sorts of different modalities as I was going through a process of up-leveling my consciousness is maybe I had gone through a divorce and was trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do with my life. And so I studied, hypnosis and breath work and just kind of all of these other kinds of modalities. And so that was my breath work. I was starting along the Soma breath work thing and saw that they had this in-person workshop and thought, oh, I need to go to that. It was the bolt of lightning. I don't know if you get those.
Yeah.
But I get those, right? When the universe is speaking to me, it's a hell yes. And that was an immediate, like, I need to go to this.
I'm super curious for you. When we were in the space for the first time, we did the first breathwork experience.
Yeah.
Did you have any visions during that session that stuck out to you during that first one? Because it was really the first time I ever experienced breathwork. Because for those that don't know about Soma breathwork is rhythmic breathing along with movement and dance with meditation. And adding the body movement enhances the breath work that I wasn't prepared for. I never experienced that before. My breath work mentor, my first one, it was all just rhythmic breathing.
Yeah.
No holds and no movement. And adding those components all together in a nice little package with killer music.
Yeah.
Man, I had so many visions of a space to do breath work, which in fact is happening.
Yes.
It's taken a while to actually formulate into an actual decision of going into that. But was there anything for you?
Oh, such a good question. I think every single time I've done a Soma breath work, using all those components, I always get something. I am pretty connected to my intuitive senses. And so can I remember specifically what that was? No, because I'd been doing that breath work and I knew what I was coming in for. But I think also being in the room with all of these other people who were doing the same thing, it was such an elevating experience that it was really magical. It was really magical.
I think I was drawn to you because you're a seeker. And I am fascinated with this discovery process of discovering who I am. And I think when you find someone that's doing the same, there's okay, what are you learning? Like, tell me, what are you getting out of this experience, trying to figure it out? Because we're all like searching and seeking. And how long does it take someone to understand that?
Well, I think it's up to the person, right? I know for me, it's been this journey of like 8 or 9 years where I'm finally in this place where I've looked at all of the different things. I've looked at so many different ways of being and understandings of the universe. And I have done these deep dives into quantum physics and, spirituality and channeling and all of these, other, kind of body-based modalities and going into sacred sexuality and tantra and all of these other things that finally I am feeling so grounded in who I am, like that search for the authentic self, which, and you and I have had that conversation, but I do really truly believe from my perspective that the reason that we are here in life is to become the most authentic version of who we are.
And now, there'd be a legion of people that are walking around. I call them NPCs, non-player characters, who are really disconnected. Just much like a video game, you would walk up to a non-player character and you'd have a conversation. They say the same thing, and there's no deepness in a conversation. And so those people would never really understand or have a willingness to be curious about it. They're just going through their motions. How do you seek those people to be with that are like you, so you can really be yourself? Because otherwise it's really uncomfortable to be with people that are.
Yeah. Although the thing that I would say about that is I think that we are magnets, right? We are electromagnetic beings as a body, like our heart and our brain. Like we are an electromagnetic being and we put out energy. There's an auric field around us, and the energy that we are when we walk into a room is attractive to the people who are on that level of vibration. And so I think just by being who you are, you're going to attract those people because that is actually the way the universe works.
Yeah.
Right. Everything is vibration. Everything is energy. We are 99.99% energy and only 0.01% matter. If we're looking at quantum physics and we're looking at all of these things. So our energy matters and we attract more of what we already are.
For that person that is maybe not a surface level, why would you even bother going through understanding these things? Like, how do you convince someone like that this work matters?
Yeah. I don't know if you need to convince them so much as you simply need to be. When you are a living example of what it means to be centered, to be in peace, to be living as love, to be living as your authentic self. And you're not changing yourself because, this group of people is different than this group of people. You are simply being. That I think is enough for people to become curious and say, wow, I don't see that very often. And this person seems very grounded. And this person seems pretty happy. Yeah. I wonder why. I wonder if I could do that.
Well, how do you do the practice of discovering that for you?
Well, so once again, I think it's so personalized. And when I work with people, I really take the time to understand what it is that's going to work for them. But the practice always starts with the body. That an emotion, before we have an understanding of it's an emotion, it's a sensation in the body. And our nervous system, our autonomic nervous system, really does keep us in a certain place if we are not able to be grounded. And so really letting ourselves understand, where am I in the area of being regulated, right? Is my body regulated? Am I in fight or flight most of the time, or am I pretty grounded? And how do I then move towards pleasure in my life? Because pleasure is it heals you. And so there are many different practices. Breathwork is a beautiful way to do that. Meditation. Practices that you are using on a regular basis are so important, because if you are not regularly doing something to bring yourself to center, you will not find yourself centered most of the time. So it's finding what works for you, and everybody's a little different. And there's so many different things that you could do. Pleasure practice, breath work, meditation, even, yoga or other kinds of things. There's a myriad, amount of things you can do, but start in the body and then coming into that deeper understanding of then how do I move and make meaning of my life? Right. Because, and we've had this conversation before, that life is meaningless. We are the ones who give meaning to our lives. We are the ones who are creating this reality that we're living in. And so how do we do that from a conscious perspective instead of unconscious and creating things that we may not desire to have created? It's taking responsibility for that.
Yeah. I've just recently got into a lot of Carl Jung stuff and been fascinating with these shadows and these version of ourselves that we, are very uncomfortable to face. And, how to integrate that is a challenge for a lot of people. What have you seen is ways to integrate the different shadows?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of different ways you can do that. One of the things that I'm working on right now that I just absolutely adore is this using a subtle body system where you're working with the entire mind body complex and you're kind of talking to all the parts of your body. And it hits what the nature of reality is, which in my opinion, we are living in the matrix. We are creating this world that we're living in. And that when we're able to talk to the mind and the body and the spirit simultaneously, to then come to the deeper understanding of we cannot change something unless we love it. So bringing things closer to us and having compassion for where we are, having compassion for maybe the situation that we're in or the other person or people who are causing us some kind of discomfort, allows us to then bring that into a place where it can be changed. Because, and this is one of those sayings that people say, but what you resist persists. And so when you don't want something and you are fighting against it, you are activating the energy of that thing. And so bringing in those shadow pieces and loving them is the way to then resolve them.
Now, this concept of loving something to change it, I mean, it's,
you can't love it to change it, right? You have to just love it and accept it as a part of you. Yeah. Because we are such complex beings. And so this is one of my favorite sayings, but that God is a kinky motherfucker. Because what that means is the universe, God, source energy, whatever it is you want to call it, has created everything. It wants to experience everything because it is everything. And so when we deny or make wrong something that is in this universe, we are denying or making wrong source itself. Right. And so you're not loving something to change it, but you're loving it because it is.
Yeah. Well, I think, a lot of these like crisis of meaning that people navigate will often happen when someone, has a death, is a loss of a relationship or a divorce, or it could be loss of a job or a business, or all these different things that kind of happen. And was your divorce a catalyst for this shift?
It sure was. I was living a life that was not authentic. I was not, I was trying to be someone that I wasn't, trying to fit into a mold. And when I got divorced, I went on this journey of trying to figure out who the heck I was and what could possibly make me happy. I was definitely in a very dark place and most people are when you're going through a divorce. It's a difficult time. You have this life that you thought you were going to live, and you have to mourn the death of that. And then understand that, at least in my opinion, life is always presenting us with things as mirrors, things for us. And that when we're able to look at it from that higher perspective of what is this here for me to learn, and how am I able to take this and do something with it? And one of the things that, and I was just talking about this yesterday, that, you can look at life as in the victim mode, which I certainly was in at that time. It's happening to me. And then you can look at it and say, well, maybe it's happening for me instead. And then you can look at it and say, life is happening through me. But then when you get to that highest level of consciousness, what you really understand, that life is happening through me instead of, as me. Sorry. Life is happening as me. That as me, I am creating this. And that as these things come into my life and these challenges present themselves, or these beautiful things, that they're all reflections of me. And as I am able to look at them in that way and learn from them and know that there's nothing that's wrong and there's nothing that's actually bad. It's just here. It's just here.
So when you think of that, the scale of your growth since divorce and today, and then you think about if you kind of speed that up into the timeline and where do you think Shaun ends up?
Such a good question. Really and truly, what I am drawn to, just so drawn to, is this understanding that as a being who is here, that when we are able to use our body, live in the body, be spiritually embodied, and use the body as the endogenous substance to touch our own divinity, that is what I want to help people learn how to do. That I want to do that even more for myself, using the tools of pleasure, right? Which is eating a beautiful meal, just enjoying stretching when you're doing yoga, actual pleasure practices in sacred union, those kinds of things. But where I see myself going is helping people really get into the understanding of the embodied part of themselves, that so many times when we're in difficulty, we just pop right out of our bodies. Like it's difficult and we just kind of, I'm not here, and we aren't here. But when we are here, we are present, we have such an opportunity to then create what we want to create, because time is a human construct. There is no time. The power is always in the now. So being here now, always, is the way to be in joy and in love. And so my path forward is to create beautiful places for people to come together and understand who they are at that deep, deep level.
What do you think, like in your ideal fantasy of your becoming, like knowing who you are is getting more clear? There's a shift, because it's one thing to know who you are and transitioning to being that, and then transition that being that to I'm still in a 3D existence, and I need to work. I need to earn income, doing this work, because you kind of riding this surfboard of this wave is like, because there's not a clear, it's not like you're not applying for spiritual jobs. There's not you don't see that in a job posting.
You don't
necessarily, So you have to be a lot more entrepreneurial and and kind of that's just a different animal. And how do you sell that animal to people in a way that they can see that this path is going to give them joy, give them more better sense of meaning so they can enjoy themselves.
Yeah. I mean, and I think this could actually be, something that goes into even corporate work, right? That when we are the most creative that we can be is when we're using our imagination and we're playing and we're following our desire, right? And so being able to do that from this deeply embodied place also allows us to really escalate those kinds of things as well. But yeah, I mean, I think helping and working with conscious communities and once again, this idea of play and imagination is the key to everything that we're creating in our lives. We had to imagine it first. And so when we are coming back to this understanding of using our imagination to create the life that we want to live, well, we can do that in so many different ways. But I do think that coming into different conscious communities and starting to teach this stuff. And gosh, what was your question? You asked why people would want to do it.
Well, it's just how do you bring it into adding value to our 3D lives?
Into the 3D lives. Well, I think that the adding value to 3D lives, when people are feeling happy, they are better employees.
Yeah.
Right. When people are feeling so motivated to move towards their goals because they know what they are and they're authentically themselves and really lit up about what it is they're doing, that helps the bottom line for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. Helps the bottom line for everybody.
Well, there's just so many tools in the toolkit of spirituality that helps people step into creation, deal with conflict
for sure,
and from a different perspective, instead of they are doing this to me, shifting that mindset that they is not doing anything to me. I'm learning something. This is an opportunity for my growth. This is an opportunity for me to add more value and an understanding. And I think to me, spirituality is this opportunity to start recognizing our state.
Yeah.
And our state recognition is the next step for all of us to recognize, I'm not in the state. This is not me. This is my shadow showing up. And I can nod and say hello and then do some practice, whatever practice it is, to get into a different state in that creation. And I mean, that to me is such a weird thing to talk about and try to explain it to people, because it's not something that people can. I mean, it takes some time to learn the skills of getting into that.
Yeah, it does. But I also think that one of the biggest things with that is compassion and self-compassion first. That I think one of the biggest lessons that I had to learn was that compassion for myself and non-judgment. I think, judgment is the thing that keeps us from moving forward, and especially self-judgment. And it actually keeps society kind of running in the way that it does, all the judgment that we all have for one another, but when we can really look at ourselves and stop judging ourselves first, all the other judgment falls away.
Right.
Because we're judging other people because we're first judging ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me know how to get there, because that's, I would say, that shows up for me a lot. I find myself when I'm in, let's say, a conscious community or my friends, I don't really have any judgment. I'm really totally good. Put me in a Walmart and, oh man, it's just really triggering. And I don't like that version of me to have that pop up.
Oh, but isn't that interesting though? Because you can look at that and say, what is the mirror here?
Yeah.
Right. And have compassion for yourself. And because once again, it comes back to that self-compassion, self-love. It's just when you fully love yourself, you can then drop the judgment and you are acting from a different level of consciousness. So and you know this because we talk about this, you and I all the time, it's love. It just comes down to love.
Yeah.
And the hardest thing is self-love for some odd reason, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for me, I'm making good headway. But I also recognize that it's a practice that I need to continue. I think we forget to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why spiritual growth does never stop. It's not like we get there.
Mm-mm. Yeah. You can never get it. You can never get there and you can never get it wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's no wrong.
Yeah.
There's only being.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just learning. I mean, that's what entrepreneurs do, right? You make a mistake. You say, oh, okay. What did I learn from that? How many times have you heard an entrepreneur say, I learned more from the mistakes that I made, right?
Yeah.
Than I did from all the things that I did right. What we're doing in our lives as we are moving and making choices and, it's just information. It's just learning. And we blame ourselves for the things that we think we've done wrong, but they're not necessarily wrong. It's just information. It's just learning.
It seems to me that we all have a certain client profile that we are masters in. And we can get that client profile in front of us. You're just like, oh man, I can really help this person. And who is that for you?
Such a good question. I know there's so many people I think I can help. And I know that that's not the right answer. The right answer is you're supposed to niche down. But, I think somebody who is spiritually curious, who is ready to do the work to make a change, to be happy, who is ready to figure out how to live life in a way where they are so connected to who they are as an authentic being that they are willing to do the work to get there, to just be happy now. Right. And so that could be broad, but I think who I want to work with are the people who are willing to step in and really just dig in and do this work and be connected to the body. I think once again, for me, the big thing here is, there's a lot of people doing spiritual work, but there's not a lot of people who are connecting that spiritual work to the body in the way that I'm doing it. That, using the body as the endogenous substance to touch your divinity, to really be in your body, to be able to move through the emotions and release the triggers that have been holding you back, be able to actually really get in there and move through those things so that your body is working with you and that you are just moving forward at a greater rate because your mind, your body, and your spirit are all working together to be the most authentic version of you. Like it's just, it's delicious to think about how when I work with people, they can really come into themselves in a deeper, new way. I know that for me, I mean, it's the work that I've done with myself.
What does it look like to do the work with you? Talk about the
process.
The process.
Yeah. So there's a variety of processes. I do individual coaching, which really gets down into starting with helping people release emotional triggers, kind of work through the shadow work stuff. But that also, to me, it affects the body, because the dis-ease in our emotions does end up being disease in our bodies over time, because we're so dysregulated in our nervous system and our cortisol and all of the things. So, starting with an understanding of what's your baseline from a mind, body, spirit perspective, and moving towards wholeness. And I definitely make people do practices. There's homework outside of coaching container, that because you have to do the things on a regular basis to be able to make the progress. And then I have groups and I do workshops. And I think community is so important in these kinds of things as well.
Yeah. Being around other people on that path, just to be witness to someone who is maybe further along in the journey and actually feel their presence in a different way, and like know what it's like to walk into a room and sit with people that elevate your energy just in their presence, and realize that's possible, that you could do that for other people, so that they are, that you are showing up in a vibration that draws people to you. And I get really interested in the idea of, and why I think leaders should learn these skills, is imagine a world where you never sold. Imagine a world where the universe was bringing people to you like its own little lead magnet, where business wasn't hard, growth wasn't a hustle, it wasn't your promotion, your attraction, and the attraction is the spiritual vibration that you just put off. And it's like, this habit that I do, that I learned from Dan Sullivan in his program, which is strategic coach, and which is a very, he doesn't talk a lot about spirituality other than, inviting you to think about the idea of just before you fall asleep to set an intention or solve a problem, or, you're laying in bed reading a book and you feel a little bit sleepy, grab that pen and paper, that little problem that you're trying to navigate, write it down and ask the universe for some assistance. Yeah. Some could call it a prayer. Some could call it an intention, or whatever you want to call it. And then watch the magic. And then when you start playing with the magic, which I think is, spirituality or synchronicity, as Carl Jung said in the 1930s, it's like when you start to program your system, which is essentially maybe another way to say AI prompt yourself, to put that intention out there. And then, when the world starts to present it to you, you'll receive it and be the first or second time you're like, oh, total coincidence. Yeah. And then it happens again. And then now I'm at a stage where it's like, oh, of course. And how amazing.
Yeah. And that is the nature of reality. Once again, we are electromagnetic beings. Intention matters. You never get anything other than what you already are.
Yeah.
Right. And so elevating yourself and your vibration helps you elevate your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so going back to kind of the coaching methodology that I've come up with, which is, it's a pleasure pathway. And, I really, work on, there's these principles that I like to use and think about as I go through and work with people. But there's the hermetic principles, which everything is, mental, and there's rhythm and all sorts of other, there's the 7 kind of pathways on the hermetic principles philosophy. But I have created this kind of, I think, beautiful way of moving through, which is you start with rhythm. Everything has rhythm, beauty, because beauty is important in our lives and what we're bringing in. Desire, because desire is the pathway, and pleasure, because pleasure leads us to that desire. And then we go to, oh my gosh, was it certainty? I'm forgetting right now. And ritual, because ritual is important as well. But when we use all of these things, when we are certain, when we come into the deep knowing that what it is we desire is meant for us, that's when it comes.
Wow. Thank you for spending time with me. This is good.
Yeah. I love spending time with you.